Greetings and welcome. There are two motives for reading a book. One, that you enjoy it. The other, that you can boast about it. Bertrand Russell. I'm not a person who makes New Year's resolutions. Once in a while, I will try to think of ways to better myself. Not often, but once in a while. And at the end of 2023, I wanted to read more in 2024. I used to be an avid reader, and as I'm pushing 40, I realize how often I currently say, I used to. And reading was a hobby I slowly got out of, but wanted to get back into. So I made a goal of trying to read 10 pages a day. Last year was leap year, 366 days, so 3,660 pages. And I ended up reading 4,410 pages, which equaled 13 books. Nothing like I used to, but a great start because it was about 12 more than I read the year before. And it has really helped me shape my focus on collecting. Sports is one of my main focuses in my life, so I read mostly sports books because I wanted to read what I wanted to read. But each book made me look at a player in a different light. And it added many cards to my want list, and it also took off several cards on my want list. But collecting-wise, I felt more focused after each book. But here are the books that I had read. Life on the Run by Bill Bradley. Bradley, of course, is a Hall of Famer, former U.S. Senator, and ran for presidential nomination. He describes the inner workings of being a pro athlete better than anyone that I've read. I consider this book kind of the ball four of basketball. And it depicts different personalities on the New York Knicks, guys from like Dick Barnett to Phil Jackson, and how they mesh together as a team. One of the best books I read this year. The Naismith Reader, Basketball in His Own Words. This book was okay. I think it's a valuable resource for anyone like myself who's interested in the development of the game. However, if you're interested, I'd like to buy a used copy and not pay sticker. There's a lot of repetitiveness, and it's not really the author's fault, just how the interviews and documents were laid out. I did enjoy reading the 13 Original Rules of Basketball from 1891. And fun fact, the hoop is 10 feet high because that's the height of the railing at the YMCA gym where Dr. Naismith invented basketball. So it remained. He said if the railing was higher, the baskets would have been higher. So Help Me Golf by Rick Reilly. This is what I consider a vacation book. It's a fast, easy, and entertaining read. I'd recommend it if you're a golfer. Rick Reilly is the author and worked for Sports Illustrated, so you're probably familiar with his writing. I enjoyed it. Loose Balls by Terry Pluto. Fantastic book. This is one that I had reread. Certain books I like to read multiple times to keep my mind fresh on a subject, and this is one of them. If you follow my channel, you know that I love the ABA, so it's a must-read. Sex, drugs, slam dunks, three-point shots, deferred comps long before baseball, Dr. J, Jelly Tart, Bad News Barnes, and even Pat Boone. This book literally has it all. Johnny U. This was the other book I reread. I'm a huge Unitas and Colts fan, so it's a favorite of mine. If you're a fan of football history, I'd say it's a must-read. It's as much of a story of Unitas' teammates as it is of Unitas. My favorite part of the book was earlier in their career, Unitas and Raymond Berry were running routes after practice. Unitas asked Berry, what if a linebacker got right on top of you? Berry said it's never happened, but Unitas asked again. Berry answered, he'd give an outside fake like this and then jump underneath him like this. Unitas nodded, and neither mentioned it or thought about it for over 2 years. But with a minute and a few seconds to go in the 1958 championship game, the Colts were losing 17-14, and Berry lined up and saw linebacker Harlan Sver lined up across from him. Berry glanced over at Unitas, who smiled at him. Berry did exactly what he said he would 2 years earlier, and Unitas hit him for an important first down. But great book. Football Done Right. This book was all right. Michael Lombardi ranks his 100 football players. It was enjoyable to read a page about each player. It also gave a quick journey through the history of the NFL. It's not a waste of time to read, but I thought it'd be more thorough. And there was kind of a lack of editing, which made the book overall kind of a disappointment. When Pride Still Mattered, A Life of Vince Lombardi. This started off slow, but once it picked up, it was hard to put down. I came away feeling like I knew Lombardi and the arc of his life. I went to Green Bay and toured Lambeau Field and the Packers Museum and Hall of Fame last year, and I wish I had read this book before I went. Highly recommend this book. Branch Rickey's Little Blue Book. This was fine. I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend it, but I also wouldn't persuade you from reading it. Satchel, The Life and Times of an American Legend. This was good. I'd recommend it. Personally, there were parts where I got bored, then it became really good, then boring, then great. I'd imagine Page is a difficult story to tell, and the author had the challenge to kind of separate truth from fiction. And I don't know how much you can understand Satchel Paige without understanding the Negro Leagues, and can you understand the Negro Leagues without understanding Jim Crow? So how much background do you include if you're an author? And I thought Larry Tye did a great job explaining the story to everyone, no matter their knowledge. Our Team. This book made me want more. And that is why, after reading this, I jumped right to that Satchel Paige biography. It's a story of Larry Doby, Bob Feller, Bill Veeck, and Satchel Paige with the 1948 Indians. I'd recommend reading this, and then the biography of those four guys after. The Punch. One Night, Two Lives, and the Fight That Changed Basketball Forever. This was okay. It took a 10-second incident and made it over 300 pages. I was pretty familiar with the event, and I didn't learn much. It did focus a lot on Kermit Washington and Rudy Tomjanovich's life, which made me realize I don't need to waste my time reading Rudy T's autobiography. It's an easy read, it's a fast read, but I would not recommend it. And I even snuck in 3 books that were not sports related. First, Treasure Island. You ever heard of it? I was a little embarrassed I had never read this, so I wanted to correct that. I'd also be embarrassed to review it, so yes, read it. It's a classic. Dave Grohl, The Storyteller. This was a fun read. It really exudes his love and appreciation for music. If you're looking for more gossip, you won't get it. I appreciate he didn't put it in. I'm a big Foo Fighters fan, so I enjoyed the book. And last, Team of Rivals. I finally got around to reading this book, and my goodness, it did not disappoint. The book was so amazing. With 100 pages to go, you didn't want it to end. It really did put Lincoln in the context of his peers. Where I think great books shine is that they really introduce you to other figures, and then you want to learn more about them, making you read further into the subject, whether you kind of wanted to or you didn't want to. This book does exactly that, and this was my favorite read of 2024. And I already have a list or a stack of books that I plan on reading in 2025. I've already started with Back from the Dead of Bill Walton. And yes, I use a 1994 Topps card of Mark McGwire as my bookmark. But if you have any recommendations you'd like to send my way that I should read, please do so. I'd love to hear them. And thank you for watching, and enjoy your collection.